Hello, my name is David Kern. I'm giving my final presentation for Environmental Health Class 5102, Environmental and Occupational Health. Welcome to this presentation on renovation, or more properly called the lead-based paint abatement of Simmons-Memorial Hospital. Remember, we want to fix up the hospital, but we want all of you loyal Simmons maintenance workers to be aware of what you are doing and be safe while working with lead-based paint. I'm Dave Kern. I work in Simmons Human Resources Department. I'm an occupational health specialist. I've been trained to follow U.S. Environmental Protection Agency rules, and I am certified as a lead-based paint risk assessor, project designer, and supervisor. I'm going to moderate this presentation where we'll have an in-depth look at the project challenges, the issues, and the method we will use to complete the abatement, and after that there'll be plenty of time for asking questions. Simmons Memorial Hospital was built in 1930, and it's a splendid example of architecture for the pre-World War II period. It's of solid design and is on the U.S. National Register of Historic Places. It's been deemed by experts to be a valuable historic artifact. Nonetheless, it has extensive areas of deteriorating lead-based paint. The Simmons Foundation is going to spend whatever it takes to ensure that the Simmons Memorial Hospital building will be cleared of all lead-based paint hazards. The foundation, with its billion-dollar endowment, has an open-ended budget for the project. Plans for the building after our work is completed have not been determined. The building has been vacant following completion of the new Simmons Medical Center on the campus where both buildings are located. The foundation will follow all state and federal rules concerning the lead-based paint abatement, including the Arkansas State Board of Health lead-based paint regulations, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency rules, and Federal Occupational Safety and Health Administration, also known as OSHA rules. I might add that Arkansas is one of 28 states which has an OSHA-approved state occupational and health program. Lead is an element used in many industrial applications because it is a heavy metal, denser than most materials, soft and malleable, and it has a relatively low melting point. It's also a toxic substance, which when inhaled or ingested can cause neurological and gastrointestinal effects, anemia, and kidney disease. Under U.S. Occupational Safety and Health Administration rules, the hospital administration is required to protect you from the harmful effects of lead poisoning while you perform the required renovations. One of the safety measures the foundation will take is to monitor the air inside the contained area where we are working. We want to make sure the airborne lead-based paint level remains at a safe level. Here's a diagram on the options which the foundation reviewed. It decided to do a full lead-based paint risk assessment rather than a lead hazard screen, which is primarily used for structures where the paint is in good condition. As I've said, this building has obvious and extensive lead-based paint deterioration. In this project, we're going to assess the extent of deteriorating lead-based paint, determine the necessary renovation to eliminate deteriorating lead-based paint, and while we perform these renovations, we will follow lead-safe work practices. Before our team begins this assessment, we will make sure that each team member is properly clothed with a full-body, lightweight Tyvek suit, including a hat, long sleeves, and gloves. Goggles and a respirator will not be needed because the lead-based paint surfaces will not be greatly disturbed during the assessment. When we work on the project, however, we will all be suited up with goggles and a respirator as well. As I said, the foundation will not spare any expense for this project. If you need something to protect yourself, let your supervisor know about it, and it will be done. We are going to do a visual examination of the entire hospital from top to bottom. Those who will survey the building will go through the interior and the exterior, assessing the paint surfaces as intact or deteriorating, and identify all of the challenges of abatement. We will be looking for piles of paint dust and paint chips. Specifically, on the roof, gutters, and downspouts, we will be looking for signs of deterioration, which may result in water problems, which can lead to deteriorating paint. Gutters and downspouts should not be broken or missing. On the windows, we will look for broken windows, areas where caulking is missing. We'll also pay attention to areas of friction between the window jamb and the sash, where lead dust may collect. Examination of masonry and foundations can reveal cracks or eroded mortar joints, where moisture can seep in and cause structural problems. If structural problems are severe, they'll need to be corrected before repainting. This is a drawing of what we will be examining inside the building. We will be looking for areas where two surfaces rub against each other and where there is a constant impact from activities such as walking upstairs and holding on to guardrails or opening and closing doors and windows. To collect our paint samples, we will use approved dust wipe techniques and also collect paint chips. The dust wipes will be sent to an accredited laboratory for analysis. The paint chips will be analyzed by an X-ray fluorescence or XRF device. The current EPA lead dust hazard standards are 10 micrograms per square foot for floors and 100 micrograms per square foot for interior windowsills. The standards had been lower, but they were increased more than 10 years ago after more research was done on the effects of lead poisoning in people. We will follow state and federal standards as the basis of our abatement, which will be the removal of all lead-based paint hazards. The Arkansas State Board of Health regulations prohibit the use of open flame burning or torching of lead-based paint. Also banned is the use of sanding, grinding, or abrasive sandblasting without a high-efficiency particulate air, also known as HEPA, device to collect the dust. After a lead-based paint assessment is completed of the building, we will produce a project design, which will be implemented by Simmons employees who are certified workers and supervisors. The building is vacant, and all heating, ventilating, and air conditioning systems will be turned off so that lead dust is contained. Among the design options we have are removal of paint dust, stabilization of the paint by wet scraping and repainting, sanding the paint with a HEPA vacuum device, and covering with polyurethane or a high-quality paint. We may need to plane and rehang wooden doors. We may need to encapsulate or enclose the lead-based paint in other areas. More design options include removing the lead-based paint by a heat gun, which uses less than 1100 degrees Fahrenheit temperature. We can also remove the lead-based paint by chemicals or by a controlled abrasive method. We can also replace building components such as doors and stair treads. For masonry walls and foundations, we can use a fully enclosed water blasting method. Lead-based paint locations include interior wood trim, floors and staircase, treads, walls and ceilings, doors and windows. Abatement for masonry walls and foundations includes similar methods which we have described for interior areas: wet scraping and repainting or encapsulating, stripping areas of paint with chemicals or a heat gun, and repainting. We can also cover walls and foundations with a sheet made of high-density polyethylene fibers, or install or replace any siding and tightly insulate the structure. Remember 4 rules for your work on the project. Protect yourself, contain the work area and warn intruders with signs and notices, avoid dust generation methods, and lastly, clean up thoroughly yourself and the work area. Protect yourself. To protect yourself, you will follow federal rules for working in a lead-based paint abatement. The clothing you will wear will include a painter's hat, disposable coveralls, a disposable N100 respirator, and disposable shoe covers. There will be no smoking, eating, or drinking within the work area. We will wash our hands and face each time we stop working. And when we wash our clothes at home, we want to make sure we wash them separately from the rest of our family's laundry. To contain the work, we will cover with polyethylene sheeting all floors and equipment or furnishings which cannot be moved. We will seal doors and heating and cooling system vents, and outside we will cover the ground to contain our work area. We will avoid dust generation activities, including open flame burning or torching, and sanding, grinding, planing, or needle gunning, or blasting with power tools, which do not use a shroud and a HEPA vacuum attachment. We will only use a heat gun with temperatures less than 1100 degrees Fahrenheit. We will minimize lead-based paint dust by misting areas with water before sanding or scraping. We will score the paint before separating components, and we will pull apart the components instead of breaking them. We will clean the work area daily. We will be careful when taking down furniture covers. We will use a HEPA vacuum to clean dust and debris from all surfaces. We will wet wipe and wet mop with plenty of rinse water. The cleaning will be complete when there is no dust, no paint chips, or no debris left in the area. If we can see any piles of dust, paint chips, or debris, we will have to re-clean the area. Disposal of the lead-based paint waste must also be done at a facility which meets U.S. EPA guidelines. Following completion of the project, a certified inspector will thoroughly examine the hospital to ensure that federal lead-based paint clearance levels are met. The inspector will use wipe samples and an XRF device to verify compliance. The current EPA clearance levels are 10 micrograms per square foot for floors and 100 micrograms per square foot for interior window sills. After meeting those standards, we can rest assured that the lead-based paint is abated. Thank you, folks, for your time. Are there any questions? And here are my presentation sources. Thank you for your time.